We heard screaming in the hallway. Then a student asked, "Does anyone smell that?" We all recognized that smell. But then we heard someone scream, "Stop it! Please put it away!" We all rushed to the door. The hallway floor was soaked. The smell hit immediately. Gasoline. Mr. Rodriguez, the janitor, was pouring from a red container onto the lockers, the floor, everything. He had a lighter in his other hand. "Mr. Rodriguez," Mr. Jameson yelled, "put that down. Not until the truth comes out." Rodriguez held the lighter up. "What truth?" Mrs. Patterson asked. "He knows." Rodriguez pointed at Principal Preston, who'd just appeared. "I don't know what you're talking about," Preston said. "Liar!" Kids were crying. The whole second floor reeked of gasoline. We were trapped. "Please," a student begged. "Just tell us what you want. I want him to confess." "Confess what?" I asked. "What he did. What he took." Preston was backing toward the stairs. "You're having an episode. Let me get help." "I don't need help. I need the truth." Rodriguez flicked the lighter. Sparks, but no flame. Everyone screamed. I looked at my teachers. Mr. Jameson had gone pale. Mrs. Patterson too. They knew something. "What's going on?" I whispered to Mrs. Patterson. She glanced at Preston, then whispered, "Something happened at a faculty party." "What?" "The Christmas party. Just something happened." "Tell them." Rodriguez screamed at Preston. "Tell them about the party." "Nothing happened." "And after?" "What about after?" Preston's face was red. "This is inappropriate. These kids should know what kind of man you are." I stepped forward. "Principal Preston, what happened?" He wouldn't look at anyone. "There was an incident." "An incident?" Rodriguez laughed bitterly. "That's what you call it? What kind of incident?" I pressed. Preston was sweating. "A personal matter." "Personal?" "It destroyed everything. It was consensual." That made everyone freeze. Consensual meant something happened with someone. "And then?" Rodriguez prompted. Preston mumbled something. "Louder." "There was a pregnancy." Gasps from students. But Rodriguez was shaking his head. "Keep going. Tell them everything." Preston's wife appeared in the stairwell. "Richard, what's happening?" "Perfect timing," Rodriguez said. "Tell your wife about the pregnancy." Preston looked trapped. "It's not what you think." "Then explain it," I said. Everyone was watching. "The woman, she agreed to help us." "Help how?" his wife asked. "We couldn't have children. She agreed to carry one for us." His wife's face went white. "Our son, you said we adopted." "We did, sort of." "How much?" Rodriguez asked. "Tell them how much you promised." 150,000. The hallway was silent. Processing. "And after she gave birth?" Rodriguez's voice was deadly quiet. "After you got your perfect baby?" Preston couldn't speak. "March 15th, Rodriguez said. "Remember that date? What did you do?" "I had to protect my family." "From what?" I suddenly understood part of it. "You didn't pay her." "Worse," Rodriguez said. "Tell them what you did instead of paying." Preston was crying now. "She was undocumented." The pieces clicked. "You called ICE." The hallway exploded. Everyone yelling, recording. Preston's wife collapsed against the wall. "You had her deported," Mrs. Patterson screamed. "My wife!" Rodriguez finally screamed. "Elisa, my wife gave you a child and you had her deported." Everything made sense now. Elisa, the cafeteria lady, always kind, extra portions, gone since March. "You got my wife pregnant at your Christmas party, convinced her to give you the baby, then had her deported so you wouldn't have to pay." Preston's wife was sobbing. "Elisa? Our son is Elisa's?" Rodriguez cried. "Your son will never know his real mother." He looked at the lighter, then at us. "This is who runs your school. This is who teaches you about integrity." Rodriguez dropped the lighter. Everyone screamed. It hit the wet floor and went out. No fire, no explosion, just wet. Rodriguez smiled sadly. "It's water, just water with gasoline on my hands." Police arrived, arrested Rodriguez for threats, Preston for immigration fraud. Before they took him away, Rodriguez looked at Preston and said, "I'll be cleaning up this mess. Make sure the rest of you clean yours." We heard screaming in the hallway. Then a student asked, My mom and her boyfriend walked into my room. "We're going out. We'll be back at 3 a.m. We trust you." After 3 hours went by, I felt extremely lonely. So I went to grab my Woody cowboy toy, when suddenly, he stood up and waved. "Howdy, partner." My entire body completely froze up. What is going on? And suddenly, every toy in the toy box stood up and climbed out towards me. Peppa Pig and George, SpongeBob, Patrick, Sandy Cheeks, and Buzz Lightyear. They hit the floor running, and I slid off my bed into the middle of them, laughing so hard I stared down the My mom and her boyfriend walked into my room, grabbed my Woody cowboy toy, when suddenly, he stood up and waved. "Howdy, partner." My entire body completely froze up. What is going on? And suddenly, every toy in the toy box stood up and climbed out towards me. I stared down the range at the target with my hands shaking, because if this arrow didn't hit a bullseye, my cousin was getting his face kicked in. Billy had cornered us behind the archery shed with his entire gang around him, and the counselors were across the field setting up dinner tables. Eric stood behind me with the word "Piggy" still drying in black Sharpie across his forehead. Billy stepped up grinning and put his arm on my shoulder. "I win every medal at this camp every year." I shoved his arm off. "If you hit a bullseye, you leave Eric alone for the rest of camp. If I hit one, you do whatever you want." Billy laughed and grabbed a bow off the rack. "Deal." He pulled back the string smooth like he'd done it 1,000 times and let the arrow fly. It landed an inch outside the bullseye, and his gang erupted behind him. Billy turned to me with that same grin and held the bow out. "Your turn, tough guy." I took the bow with my hands. My mom and her boyfriend walked into my room. "We're going out. We'll be back at 3 a.m. We trust you." After 3 hours went by, he stood up and waved. "Howdy, partner." My entire body completely George, SpongeBob, Patrick, Sandy Cheeks, and Buzz Lightyear. They hit the floor running, and I slid off my bed into the middle of them, laughing so hard I covered my mouth. This is insane. Is this real, or am I dreaming? SpongeBob laughed. We're as real as the Krabby Patty formula. Tell us what you want us to do. We're here until the end of the night. I tilted my head. What happens after that? Sandy jumped. No time to explain. Just tell us what you want. 6-year-old me stood up, not questioning the logic. Dance off. Girls versus boys. They separated to dance, and I pointed at Patrick. Do the robot. He completely stiffened himself and started doing the robot like a pro, while Buzz Lightyear beatboxed. I clapped and laughed hysterically like it was the best night of my life, because it was. Perfect! And when we heard the car in the driveway, all of us froze because the night was over, and I had no idea what would happen next. The front door opened, and Woody put his hand on my leg. You won't see us again, he said, but I hope we kept you company. My mom started walking up the stairs, and all the toys flopped over. When she opened the door, she flipped on the light and rubbed her face at the mess. What did you do in here? Clean it up and go to bed. When she left, I picked Woody up and waited for him to lift his arm. He stared up at the ceiling, stuffed and still. I held him against my chest anyway and turned off the light. My mom and her boyfriend walked in. I stared down the range at the target with my hands shaking, because if this arrow didn't hit a bullseye, my cousin was getting his face kicked in. Billy had cornered us behind the archery shed with his entire gang around him, and the counselors were across the field setting up dinner tables. Eric stood behind me with the word "piggy" still drying in black Sharpie across his forehead. Billy stepped up grinning and put his arm on my shoulder. I win every medal at this camp every year. I shoved his arm off. If you hit a bullseye, you leave Eric alone for the rest of camp. If I hit one, you do whatever you want. Billy laughed and grabbed a bow off the rack. Deal. He pulled back the string smooth like he'd done it 1,000 times and let the arrow fly. It landed an inch outside the bullseye, and his gang erupted behind him. Billy turned to me with that same grin and held the bow out. Your turn, tough guy. I took the bow with my hands, sweating so bad I could barely grip it, lined up the arrow, and started pulling back the string. That's when one of Billy's friends drove his foot into my ribs from the side. I hit the dirt hard, and the bow flew out of my hands. Billy picked it up, walked over to Eric, and shoved the bow into his chest. Change of plans. If Eric wants to be left alone, Eric takes the shot. Eric raised the bow with both arms shaking so hard the arrow was bouncing up and down. Billy laughed from a few feet away. Just let it go, piggy. We're all waiting. Eric closed his eyes and let go. The arrow hit the target with a thud that everyone heard. Bullseye. The whole crowd went silent for a second and then exploded. Even some of Billy's own friends were yelling. Billy's grin dropped off his face. He marched straight at Eric and shoved him backward into the mud patch behind the targets. Stay in the mud where you belong, pig. Nobody cheered. A kid in the back of the crowd said, Dude, he beat you. Billy whipped around. Shut up. Nobody asked you. But the rest of the campers were already pulling out their phones, and his own friends had stepped back from him. Billy backed away and tripped into the same mud patch. Eric pushed himself up, walked over, and picked the bow up off the ground. He looked down at Billy with the Sharpie on his forehead running down his face from the sweat. I think you look better in the mud. I stared down the range at the target with my hands shaking because I was helping the captain steer the Titanic ship in the year 1912 when the lookout on deck screamed, "Iceberg right ahead." I immediately moved my elbows to the left to steer the ship in a different direction, but the captain grabbed me. "Don't stop. We're due to arrive in New York tomorrow morning, and we're the unsinkable ship. Unsinkable ships don't stop for obstacles." 10 minutes later, we heard a crunching sound on the side of the boat. I turned to the captain. "We need to make the distress call to every ship in range." He crossed his arms. "Absolutely not. We will pump the ship out and we'll be okay. I am not wiring the world that the unsinkable ship stopped for a scratch." Sweat dripped down my forehead because I knew I had a decision to make. I burst into the wire room where we communicated to emergency services through Morse code. "Send the SOS to every ship nearby." The captain immediately grabbed me. "I will have your stripes for this. Everyone will know you let me down." I grabbed my hand back. "You can have them tomorrow morning after I'm done making sure everyone on this ship survives." Within the hour, the sea came over the bow rail and the deck tilted until deck chairs slid straight into the ocean. My hands were shaking as I swung women and children into the boats, and at 12:30 midnight, the captain finally started panicking. He ordered the live music orchestra to keep playing music until everyone was in the safety boats. I was planning on staying on the ship with him, but the last boat needed an officer at the oars, so I went down hating every rung. From the water, we watched her lights go out row by row. The last time I saw my captain, he was at the wheel that he never let me turn. She went under at 2:20 a.m. and took him with her. 1,500 people froze around us because he would not lose an hour. The sun came up right on schedule, and it was the only thing that did. I was helping the captain steer the Titanic ship in the I set my phone to record and walked into the abandoned house. My best friend Jay was standing in the driveway with our emergency gear, including a rope, flashlight, and first aid, by his feet. "You got this. The challenge is only 10 minutes. I nodded as I squeezed between two boards nailed to the front window. I was going to complete the spook challenge and stay in the haunted house for 10 minutes, post the video, and get the YouTube hype I've been working for. I took a deep breath and nodded as I looked around. 3 years of trying to get my channel noticed so I could show my dad it wasn't a stupid hobby, like he always yelled at me when I wasn't doing whatever he wanted me to do. I waved cobwebs out of my way and walked to what looked like an old living room and sat down. I switched the phone camera to face me. "What's up, gang? Today, I stopped when I heard a cracking noise below me. That was when the floorboards I was sitting on caved in. I reached out, digging my nails into the floor. My body was now half dangling through the hole, and my phone fell into the basement with a thud. I kicked, but there was nothing for me to push against. I screamed, "Jay, help!" My eyes locked on the window I used to get in, but Jay wasn't there. Could he not hear me? My hands slipped. If I couldn't go up, then I had to try jumping down. I inched my body into the hole and was soon dangling with just my hands holding onto the edges. I looked down, but it was too dark to see anything except for a pointy, splintered board. I couldn't even see where my phone landed. I heard footsteps coming towards the hole, and I screamed again. I heard a loud crunch, and the emergency flashlight flew by my ear. Did Jay fall in too? I looked down and saw that the flashlight revealed several rats crawling on the floor below. I heard more cracking and looked up to see that the floorboard I was holding onto was bending. I screamed as loud as I could. A thick rope rolled down into the hole next to me. I swung over to it and grabbed the rope. I could hear grunting above me, and soon I was crawling on the first floor again, looking up at Jay. His eyes were huge as he looked down at me. "When I tried to get to you, my foot went right through the floor, and the flashlight went flying." He froze when more boards crackled. We both ran out of the house and only stopped at the end of the driveway to look at the rope burn on our hands. Jay pulled out his phone. "Well, at least we set up the video to automatically send to your channel." I let him watch it as I lay back with my hand on my chest, heart beating like crazy. He shook my shoulder. "Dude, the floorboards below you were sticking up. If you fell, you would have been impaled on video." I looked at the phone, and for a split second, I wondered how many views that would have gotten. I set my phone to record and walked into the
My childhood friend.
My mom brought my dad his dinner plate and he threw it at the wall. "What is this garbage? I wouldn't feed this to a dog." My dad weighed 600 pounds and hadn't stood up from his recliner without help in 2 years. But me and my mom were extremely scared of him. I had never even stood up to him before. But as I watched my mom pick up the pieces of the broken dish, I knew something had to change. After 16 years of watching him hurt her, I stepped in front of her and looked at him. "She is not making you anything else, and you will never speak to her that way again, fatty." He looked at me completely shocked. "Excuse me?" Then his voice dropped. "You better not say another word." I shrugged. "Or what? What are you gonna do? Actually stand up from the couch for once?" I laughed, mocking him. His face started turning red with anger. "You ungrateful little brat. Everything you have comes from me, and you want to stand there and disrespect me in my own house." He grabbed the arms of the recliner and started rocking himself forward, attempting to stand up. "I will show you what happens when you talk to me like that." I was scared and wanted to back down, but then I looked at my mother who was crying and trying to cover the bruises he gave her. I knew I had to stand my ground and protect her. "Go ahead," I said. "Stand up and fight me." He dug his hands into the armrest and tried to push himself up. And while he was suspended in the air, his face drained of color, and both of his hands clutched his heart like his heart was hurting. "Son, I'm having a heart attack. Please help me." We locked eyes as I picked up the phone and started pressing the buttons to call 911. "Thank you for calling the police, son." "Psych," I said, laughing. I turned the phone around and showed him that I never actually called the police. "After 16 years of destroying me and my mom, I don't really feel like helping you." Me and my mom silently watched as our biggest problem finally died. My mom brought my dad his dinner plate and he threw. Nobody at my school had talked to me in 3 years because I could not stop correcting everything anyone said. Then Devin raised his hand in history class and changed that. "Just want to remind everyone this test is 40% of our grade, and our grades literally determine our future." My hand shot up before I could stop it. "They literally don't though." He turned around slowly. "Excuse me? Correlation is not causation." He smiled the way people smile when they think they are about to win. "Colleges look at grades and getting into college changes your future, so they do matter." I laughed. If grades determined futures, everyone with a 4.0 would be successful, but that isn't reality. His smile fell off his face. Good luck getting into college with that attitude. After class, a girl named Sophie stopped me in the hallway. You should join debate. There's a full ride scholarship at the end of the year. Devin always enters, and this year the topic is participation trophies. That was all I needed to hear. I joined debate and won every round for 2 months until a sophomore caught me off guard with actual earnings data, and I froze for 3 seconds in front of everyone before I found the hole. Afterwards, Sophie pulled me aside. Devin hired a private college coach and has been training all year. He won't freeze. I sat in the empty classroom after she left and thought about 3 years of eating lunch alone because my brain wouldn't let me agree with anyone about anything. I had to make it all worth it. Devin showed up to the auditorium in a suit carrying a briefcase and looked